Welcome to Barnstable Today. I'm Nick Cortez. Well, it was a short week this week due to the 4th of July holiday. Even so, our daily talk show, Barnstable This Morning, was packed with good information and insightful perspectives from many of our guests. We begin this look back on the week that was on BTM with a portion of our Wednesday, July 7th conversation with Dr. Carl Sigsbee, an emergency room physician at Cape Cod Hospital. Dr. Sigsbee told us that he was still tired on Wednesday after working in the ER over the big holiday weekend. You certainly can't blame him for feeling that way, especially after you hear this. About how many people did you treat this past weekend?
Well, there's a little bit of variability day to day, particularly when the weather is great. People tend to prioritize their health care as a before or after the beach event often.
I see. So it can wait until you get off the beach, is that what you're saying?
Well, a lot of times people get caught up in whatever they're doing and underestimate the severity of their illness, of their pneumonia, of their infectious disease, and or they're visiting their somewhat older parents with the grandchildren, and they go to the beach and come back and things aren't quite right back home.
Yeah, so,
sure. Then they organize their trip to the hospital. So our volumes are not necessarily equal hour to hour, but over those days we saw an average of 370 patients a day.
So over 1,000 people for the weekend?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. We are theoretically the busiest hospital not only in Massachusetts for these 3 months, but also historically have been the busiest hospital on the eastern seaboard for these 3 months.
The Barnstable County Department of Health and Environment for the past decade has been testing alternative wastewater treatment technologies for their ability to prevent nitrogen and bacteria from entering our groundwater. Composting toilets may well be a good option. That's according to Department Director George Hoyfelder, who joined us for our water protection segment on Thursday, July 8th, to talk about a new program that offers incentives to residents who want to install such a system.
We've received a grant from the Department of Environmental Protection that allows us to actually pick up the cost of monitoring those systems for the first 2 years that somebody might have them.
Okay.
To determine whether these are indeed viable nutrient reduction strategies.
So
for the homeowner, what does that mean? The homeowner who might want to put one of these in their house and have a failed system, the county would lend them the money at 2%.
Okay.
2% in order to make all the adjustments necessary to their property that relate to the installation of the composting toilet and the leach field necessary to dispose of their gray water. And then the county's program or the grant program would take care of their residuals, which is the compost and the liquid residual from the composting toilet. For 2 years, we are endeavoring to research whether that might have some beneficial use, so we'll be taking a lot of chemistry on it, figuring out whether it can be reprocessed as fertilizer, and the compost likewise, how that might be dealt with. Our whole idea here is to figure out whether this strategy could be used in broad areas to limit nutrients, which is a key issue on Cape Cod.
if you're interested in participating in the program, contact George at 508-375-6616. Later in our Thursday program, Senior Center Outreach Coordinator Claudia Borden joined us to help shed some light on important changes coming to Medicare Part D as a result of the new federal health care reform legislation. A little bit about some of the potential changes that folks are going to see as a result of this new legislation and whether or not it ends up being a good thing or a bad thing.
Absolutely. We haven't been educated yet as to all of the changes, but there is one immediate change that people all seem to have mistaken right away, and that is that everybody's going to get a refund check for $250, and that's actually not true.
Yeah.
Seniors will get that refund check if their total cost of their drugs goes into what is called the donut hole, or coverage gap in the Medicare Part D plan. Now, if, let's say, you're taking your meds and you find that, say, this month, July, you are going to fall into that gap, because it's all on computer through the pharmacy notifies your Medicare D plan, which is the federal government. They will know when you fall into that gap. And when you do, what they will do is they will initiate that probably in the following month or two. So if you fall into the donut hole in July, you could expect a check probably around October. I believe that they will issue it the same way they issue your Social Security.
Okay.
So if you have automatic deposit for your Social Security, your check would be automatically deposited in your bank. If you get your Social Security by U.S. mail, then you would get a check by U.S. mail.
Okay.
So it would be something to keep your eye on in your checking account.
Now, this is only a one-year thing, this $250 rebate, if you cross that threshold and you're in the donut hole, so to speak. And then after that, things continue to change. And as I understand it, the end result is that by 2020 or so, there will be no donut hole type of thing anymore.
There will be no gap. Yeah, that'll be huge. And that's what we're hoping. Right now, what it looks like is that for next year, being 2011, instead of you paying 100% of your cost of your drugs during the gap, it looks like you're only going to be paying 50% of the cost of your meds. So that'll certainly be a benefit.
Every Friday, we welcome representatives from the Cape Cod Baseball League to BTM. And on Friday, July 9th, we were very pleased to have with us Mike Roberts, the manager of the Cotuit Kettleers. Coach Roberts told us about his life in baseball and gave us his take on the Kettleers squad through the first 20 games of the season.
I'm from the state of North Carolina. I grew up a little bit in Tennessee as well. I coached, after playing a little bit of professional baseball, I coached 25 years at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, and currently work for a company called Athletes Performance, which I handle their Major League Baseball players for them. We train Jacoby Ellsbury and Euclid and a lot of the Red Sox players, Pedroia, through the years. So that's what I do in the off season, and this is my 7th consecutive season with the Kettleers.
Sure. Well, let's talk about your team now, Coach, the Cotuit Kettleers. Obviously, we're about 20 games through the season now. Give us your general impressions of how your team is looking.
Well, it's always a challenge, always fun to be here in the best amateur league in the world.
That's right.
We struggled quite a bit early, and part of that was my fault, is that I didn't have the speed that we normally have on the Kettleer Club, and we were playing station-to-station baseball, which is very difficult for me to coach and kind of slow and ugly to watch, and so we struggled, but we've now gotten quite a few of our guys out of the NCAA playoffs and the College World Series, and we've been able to run a lot more. Our pitching's a little bit better. So the last 10 days, we have played much, much better and have put ourselves up in the standings a little bit, and I think we're seeing a much improved Kettleer club.
You guys are 5-1-1 in your last 7 games, is that right?
We are, and I'm very pleased with their play. We've stolen more bases in the last 6 or 7 games, excuse me, than we did in the first 15. So that's our style of play. We like to play small ball most of the time, and so I'm very happy with what's going on right now.
If you'd like to see these complete interviews, every episode of Barnstable This Morning is available to watch online. You can find them in the town's video archives at town.barnstable.ma.us. Well, that's all for now. Everybody have a great weekend. I'm Nick Cortez, and we'll see you next time on Barnstable Today.